You've got a 4,000-year-old mystery, a legendary monster, and a brand new discovery that has the archaeological world buzzing. Right now, on the Greek island of Crete, experts have just found something incredible, something that might just be connected to one of the most famous myths of all time.
So, get this. In June of 2024, crews were getting ready to build a new airport when they stumbled upon this, a massive circular stone structure. It's ancient, it's definitely maze-like, and it's on Crete. So the question on everyone's mind is pretty obvious. Is this it? Have they finally found the legendary Labyrinth, the prison of the Minotaur? Well, let's dig in and see.
I mean, just look at the scale of this thing. We're talking about an 1,800 square meter complex. It's made up of 8 concentric stone rings, which creates this incredibly confusing labyrinthine pattern. And what's really wild is that it's completely unique. Archaeologists have never, ever seen anything like it from the Minoan civilization, the very people at the heart of this whole story.
Okay, so to really understand why this discovery is setting off so many alarm bells, we've got to go back. We need to revisit the foundational myth that has absolutely captivated people for thousands of years. And right at the center of that myth, you have the Minotaur. Its name literally means the Bull of Minos. This was a terrifying creature, part man, part bull, the monstrous child of Queen Pisipe. And the legend says it was locked away deep inside a giant maze, where it survived on a pretty gruesome diet: human sacrifices.
The whole story really gets going because of this awful tribute. King Minos of Crete forces Athens to send him 14 young people every 9 years to be fed to the beast. But then comes our hero, Theseus, who volunteers to be one of the sacrifices, vowing he's going to end this once and for all. And he gets some inside help from the king's own daughter, Ariadne. She gives him a ball of thread, which he uses to find his way through the maze, slay the Minotaur, and get back out. It's a classic hero's tale, right?
But here's the thing. Is it just a story? For centuries, people, historians, adventurers, you name it, have been obsessed with finding a real, physical labyrinth on Crete. Let's take a look at how that hunt is played out.
What's so fascinating is that the location of the labyrinth has been a moving target for millennia. Homer, who's our earliest source, doesn't even mention a labyrinth at Knossos. The famous historian Herodotus, he was convinced the greatest labyrinth was actually in Egypt. By the time the Romans came along, they thought it was either gone for good or they were confusing it with old stone quarries. It wasn't until the late 1800s that all eyes started to turn to one specific place, the gigantic Palace of Knossos.
And it was the British archaeologist Sir Arthur Evans who really put Knossos on the map. He excavated the site and declared that this was the labyrinth. But was it really a prison for a monster, or was it something else entirely?
You can totally see how he made the connection. The myth talks about an underground prison, while Knossos is a sprawling, multi-story palace with over 1,300 rooms. The legend features a half-bull creature, and guess what? The palace is covered in bull imagery, from paintings of bull leaping rituals to sacred symbols of bull horns. With a layout that confusing, it's easy to see how stories could start about it being an inescapable maze.
Evans pretty much sealed the deal with a clever linguistic theory. He suggested that the word labyrinth actually comes from labris, which was an ancient word for the double-headed axe. And since that symbol was all over the palace, the labyrinth was, in his view, simply the house of the double axis. For more than 100 years, that's been the leading theory.
But now we have a brand new contender. So let's get back to that incredible discovery on Papura Hill and see what makes it so special.
First off, the sheer scale is just mind-boggling. At 1,800 square meters, this thing is huge. It was clearly a monumental project, and it must have been a place of incredible importance to the people who built it.
So here's what we know. It's from the right time period. It was in use right around the same time as the first palace at Knossos. The structure itself is definitely maze-like with those 8 rings and narrow passages. But there are 2 really important details here. Its location, high up on a hill, and what they found inside. Not human remains, but massive quantities of animal bones.
Okay, so with all the evidence on the table, the original myth, the Palace of Knossos, and now this brand new structure, what was this place on Papura Hill really for?
Well, when you actually compare them side by side, the idea that this new site is the actual labyrinth, it falls apart pretty quickly. The mythical labyrinth was near the palace, probably underground. This place is miles away, sitting on top of a hill, completely open to the sky. The labyrinth held a man-eating monster. This site is filled with animal bones, which points to big communal feasts. It wasn't designed to trap something inside. It was built to bring people together.
And I think the publication IFL Science put it just perfectly. They said, any suggestion that this structure actually housed the Minotaur is probably a load of old bull. It's a funny line, but it makes a serious point. The evidence just isn't there.
And this is where we need to kind of pivot our thinking. The real excitement here isn't about finding some monster's lair. The true treasure is something way more valuable. It's a priceless, unprecedented window into the real lives of the Minoan people, beyond their myths and palaces.
Right now, the leading theory is that this was a kind of peak sanctuary. Think of it as a special gathering place built on high ground for important religious ceremonies. The hilltop location, the evidence of massive feasts, the sheer scale of it all points to this being a vital center for the communities all around. For archaeologists, this is incredibly exciting because it's a completely new type of Minoan building.
You know, they say myths often spring from a twinkle of truth. The legend of the Labyrinth was almost certainly inspired by the absolutely bewildering maze of rooms at the Palace of Knossos, but a discovery like this one at Papara Hill is a powerful reminder that the real, unwritten story of the Minoan people is far from over. It is literally still being unearthed, one fascinating piece at a time.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. The Minotaur's labyrinth is probably always going to be a myth. But this amazing discovery proves that there are real histories, real stories, hiding just beneath the surface, waiting for us to find them. So it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other great myths are out there just waiting for their true story to finally be unearthed?